The first time a stranger looked me in the eyes and said, "You don't owe me a single dollar." I burst into tears right there in the middle of his auto shop. Not because my car had finally been repaired. Because I had forgotten what kindness felt like. For years, I had survived by believing every favor came with invisible strings attached. Every compliment had a hidden motive. Every helping hand expected repayment. Life had taught me that nothing was truly free. So when the grease-covered mechanic quietly handed me my keys and refused my money, the walls I'd spent years building around my heart began to crack. I didn't know then that fixing my car would become the smallest miracle he ever performed. My name is Claire Bennett, and 2 years before I met Ethan, my world had collapsed. My husband had walked away after 12 years of marriage, leaving me with mountains of debt, a broken sense of self-worth, and a tiny apartment on the edge of Columbus, Ohio. We had spent nearly every dollar trying to save his failing business, only to discover he'd also been secretly planning a new life with someone else. The divorce didn't just take my marriage. It stole my confidence. At 36, I worked long hours as a middle school librarian. I smiled for children every day, while secretly wondering whether anyone would ever choose me again. Then came the morning my 15-year-old Honda sputtered to a stop on a lonely road outside town. Smoke poured from beneath the hood. I pulled onto the shoulder and stared at the dashboard in disbelief. "I can't afford this," I whispered. "Not now. Not ever." A tow truck eventually carried me to the nearest repair shop. The sign outside simply read, "Miller Auto Repair." Inside, country music played softly while several customers waited. A tall man in worn blue coveralls approached with kind brown eyes and oil-stained hands. "I'm Ethan," he said. "We'll take a look." His voice carried the calm confidence of someone who had solved thousands of problems before mine. I expected bad news. I expected a repair bill I couldn't pay. Instead, he returned 30 minutes later with an apologetic smile. "Your radiator hose burst. It overheated the engine, but you stopped in time. Lucky." "How much?" He hesitated. "You recently been through a rough time." I laughed bitterly. "Is it that obvious? You look exhausted." Something inside me broke. Maybe it was his gentle tone. Maybe it was weeks of pretending to be okay. The tears came before I could stop them. "I'm sorry," I said, wiping my face. "I didn't mean to cry." "You don't have to apologize. I honestly don't know how I'll pay." He disappeared into the garage. When he came back, he handed me my keys. "It's fixed." "I know." "How much?" He smiled. "Nothing." I blinked. "What?" "The parts came from an old vehicle we were scrapping." "Labor's on me." "I can't let you do that." "You can." "No one does that." He shrugged. "My dad taught me something." "What?" "If God gives you enough to help someone, help them." I stood speechless. "I'll pay you back." He shook his head. "Then someday help somebody else." That was all. No flirting. No phone number. No expectations. Just kindness. Driving home, I couldn't stop thinking about him. A week later, I baked chocolate chip cookies. I convinced myself they were simply a thank you gift. When I walked into the shop, Ethan looked surprised. "You didn't have to do this." "I know." He laughed. "But I'm glad you did." As we talked, a little girl burst through the office carrying a backpack nearly as big as she was. "Daddy." She wrapped herself around Ethan's legs. He smiled instantly. "Claire, this tornado is my daughter, Lily." She grinned. "I'm 8. I can see that. My daddy fixes everything." Ethan chuckled. "Not everything." "Almost." I learned his wife had died 4 years earlier after a sudden brain aneurysm. Lily had been only 4. Since then, Ethan had raised her alone while running the repair shop. His father had started decades earlier. He never complained. He simply kept going. Over the next several months, I found excuses to visit. Oil changes. Questions about strange noises. Coffee deliveries. Eventually, excuses weren't necessary anymore. We became friends. Real friends. Sometimes after closing time we'd sit outside on folding chairs eating burgers from the diner next door while Lily chased fireflies across the parking lot. One evening she wandered over holding both our hands. "You know what?" "What?" I asked. "You smile more now." I looked at Ethan. "So do you." Neither of us answered. Christmas arrived. The shop organized a free repair day for single parents and elderly. Neighbors who couldn't afford maintenance. Volunteer mechanics came from nearby towns. People donated parts. Coffee shops supplied breakfast. I spent the day serving hot chocolate. One elderly widow hugged Ethan after he repaired her brakes. "I prayed for help," she whispered. "You answered." He smiled gently. "I think God answered." I just held the wrench. Watching him changed something inside me. Kindness wasn't something he performed. It was simply who he was. A month later, disaster struck again. The school district announced budget cuts. My position was eliminated. I drove home numb. Without work, I couldn't cover rent. I couldn't even think straight. Somehow Ethan knew. He knocked on my apartment door carrying groceries. I heard. "I'll figure it out." "I know you will." "I don't want charity." "This isn't charity." "What is it?" "A friend bringing dinner." I started crying again. "I hate that you always catch me crying." He smiled softly. "I don't mind." For the next several weeks, he quietly helped however he could. He connected me with families needing tutoring. His customers spread the word. Soon I was earning enough to stay afloat. Not because one person rescued me. Because one person's kindness inspired dozens more. Life slowly steadied. Spring arrived. One Saturday Ethan invited me and Lily to a community picnic. We laughed until sunset. As children played baseball nearby, Lily climbed into my lap. "Claire." "Yes." "I think Mommy would have liked you." Every emotion rushed through me. I hugged her tightly. "So do I." That night, after driving us home, Ethan walked me to my apartment. Neither of us hurried to say goodnight. Finally he spoke. "You know, I've fixed thousands of cars." I believe it. "But there's one thing I've never been very good at." "What's that?" "Knowing when it's okay to move forward after losing someone." I reached for his hand. "I understand. I spent years thinking loving someone again meant I was forgetting my wife. And now I finally realized love doesn't replace love." My eyes filled with tears. "It makes room beside it." Weeks later, on a warm summer evening, he asked if I'd meet him at the shop after closing. The garage doors were open. Classic rock drifted through old speakers. The workbenches had been pushed aside. In the center of the floor sat a small table with takeout from our favorite diner. Nothing fancy. Just burgers. Milkshakes. And the smell of fresh motor oil lingering in the air. "This is perfect," I laughed. "I hoped you'd think so." After dinner we wandered through the quiet garage. He stopped beside my old Honda. "You know," he smiled, "this car changed my life." It definitely changed mine. He looked at me for a long moment. "The day you came in, I was a mess. You were hurting." "I still am sometimes." "So am I." Silence settled between us. Then he took a slow breath. "The first day we met, I fixed your car because it was the right thing to do." "I know. But somewhere along the way." His voice trembled. "I realized there was something else I wanted to ask." I smiled through tears. "What?" He gently took both my hands. "Claire." His warm eyes searched mine with the same kindness they had carried the day we met. I fixed your car for free. I laughed softly. You did. He squeezed my hands. But I was wondering. He paused just long enough for my heart to race. Can I fix your heart too? The tears came instantly. Not because my heart was still broken, but because, without realizing it, he had already begun healing it months before. I threw my arms around him. You already have. Behind us, a tiny voice cheered. I knew she'd say yes. We turned to find Lily peeking from the office doorway with the biggest grin imaginable. Ethan laughed. You were spying. A little. She ran over and wrapped us both in a hug. For the first time in years, the future didn't frighten me. It felt like home. People often think miracles arrive with fireworks and impossible events. Mine came wearing dusty work boots.